Welcome to Mr. Disturbing. Tonight, we're plunging into the dark heart of the Appalachians with some truly unsettling true horror stories. That'll keep you up all night. If you're brave enough, smash that like button and subscribe so you don't miss the next descent into fear. My name is Michael. I am 29 years old, and I live in a small town in eastern Kentucky, deep within the Appalachian Mountains. I work as a wildlife biologist, spending long hours in the dense forests studying local animal populations. The mountains are beautiful, but they hold secrets that many don't dare to speak about. Growing up here, I was raised on stories of strange happenings and unexplained disappearances. I never believed much of it, until the summer of 2018, when something changed everything. One afternoon, while tracking a group of black bears, I ventured farther than usual near a remote valley known by locals as Devil's Hollow. The place was avoided even by experienced hunters due to rumors of strange lights and eerie sounds at night. That day, the forest was unusually quiet, the kind of silence that feels heavy and unnatural. As I moved deeper into the valley, I noticed strange carvings on tree trunks, symbols I had never seen before, deeply etched, as if warning intruders to turn back. I felt a chill crawl down my spine but pressed on, telling myself it was just superstition. As dusk approached, I set up camp near an old abandoned cabin that locals claimed was cursed. The sun dipped behind the mountains, casting long shadows, and the air grew cold. Suddenly, I heard faint footsteps circling my camp, slow and deliberate. I shone my flashlight but saw nothing except swaying branches. Then a low growl echoed from the woods. Heart pounding, I scanned the darkness. Moments later, I caught sight of a pale figure, tall and gaunt, moving silently between the trees. Its eyes reflected a faint red glow, unnatural and piercing. Frozen, I watched as it vanished into the mist. That night, sleep eluded me. Whispers seemed to fill the forest air, indistinct but persistent, as if the woods themselves were alive and watching. I tried to leave at first light, but the path I had taken disappeared under a thick fog, disorienting me. Hours passed, or maybe minutes. Time lost meaning. When I finally emerged, the sun was high and I was miles from where I thought I had been. Back in town, I told a few close friends, but they dismissed my story as fatigue or hallucination. Yet I couldn't ignore the strange symbols burned into my memory, or the lingering sense that something had followed me home. Since then, strange occurrences haunted me. Unexplained noises around my cabin, shadows darting just beyond sight, and dreams filled with that hollow valley and glowing eyes. I returned to Devil's Hollow once more, hoping to find answers, but the cabin was gone, replaced by overgrown brush and silence. No sign of the carvings remained. It was as if the forest erased itself, hiding its secrets. I still don't know what I saw that night, whether it was a creature, a spirit, or something else entirely. The Appalachian Mountains hold many mysteries, some better left untouched. Sometimes, when the wind howls through the trees, I swear I hear that low growl again and see those red eyes watching from the shadows. The mountains call, and maybe one day I'll answer again. But for now, I live with the question, what really lurks in the depths of Devil's Hollow? And that's the end of the first story. On to Jacob's second story. My name is Jacob. I am 34 years old, and I live in a small town tucked away in the Appalachian Mountains of West Virginia. I work as a park ranger, spending most of my days deep in the woods, maintaining trails and ensuring the safety of visitors. The mountains are beautiful but ancient, holding secrets that stretch back centuries, secrets that few dare to speak of aloud. I grew up hearing local legends about mysterious creatures and unexplained disappearances, but I always thought they were just stories to scare tourists. That changed one summer night in 2019. I was finishing my patrol near an old, forgotten section of the forest called the Greenbrier Hollow. It's a place avoided even by the locals, whispered about with uneasy glances. The sun was setting, the sky painted with streaks of orange and purple. As I walked along a narrow trail, the usual sounds of wildlife faded away. The forest grew unnervingly silent. Suddenly, I noticed strange marks on the trees, deep scratches, too precise to be from animals. I felt a cold shiver run down my spine. My flashlight flickered as night fell, and I knew I needed to head back. But the path seemed to shift beneath my feet. Then I heard it, low, guttural growls echoing between the trees. My heart pounded as I scanned the shadows. Something was out there. A pale figure appeared just at the edge of my light, tall and thin, with eyes that glowed a dull red. It didn't move like any animal I knew. It vanished before I could get a clear look. Panic surged through me. I tried to retrace my steps, but the trail was gone, swallowed by thick fog that rolled in suddenly. Time lost all meaning as I wandered, the sounds around me twisting into whispers, words I couldn't understand. Eventually, I stumbled upon an old cabin, abandoned and covered in moss. Inside, I found carvings and symbols that looked ancient, etched into the wood. The air was thick with decay and something else, something dark. Suddenly, a cold breath brushed my neck, and a shadow passed behind me. I fled without looking back. Days later, I tried to report what happened, but no one believed me. The cabin was gone when I returned, the carvings erased as if the forest had swallowed them whole. Since that night, strange things have followed me, fleeting shadows in my home, whispers in the wind, and dreams filled with that hollow. The Appalachian mountains are alive with secrets, some better left alone. Sometimes, when the wind howls through the trees, I swear I hear that growl again and see those glowing eyes watching me from the dark. I don't know what I faced that night. Maybe a creature, maybe a ghost, maybe something else entirely. All I know is the mountains are waiting, and I fear they might call me back. And that's the end of the second story. On to Ethan's third story. My name is Ethan. I am 31 years old, and I live in a small, quiet town in eastern Tennessee, deep within the Appalachian Mountains. I work as a wildlife photographer, spending most of my time alone in the woods, capturing the raw beauty of the wilderness. The Appalachian Mountains have always fascinated me, their ancient trees, winding rivers, and the thick fog that rolls over the ridges at dawn. But there's another side to these mountains, one rarely spoken about outside hushed conversations around campfires. Stories of disappearances, strange lights, and creatures that don't belong to this world. I grew up hearing those tales, but I never believed them until the summer of 2017. That year, I planned a week-long trip to photograph a rare species of owl that nested in the high hollows. One evening, while setting up near a remote part of the forest known as Black Hollow, I noticed something unusual. The air was unnaturally still. Even the usual rustle of leaves and chirping of crickets had stopped. A heavy silence hung over the woods like a suffocating blanket. I brushed it off as nerves and continued with my work. As night deepened, a dense fog began to creep through the valley, swallowing the trees one by one. I felt a chill that had nothing to do with the temperature. Then I heard it. Soft, faint footsteps, slow and deliberate, just beyond the edge of my campfire's light. I turned my head sharply, but saw nothing except swirling mist. The footsteps grew closer, crunching over dry leaves and twigs, but when I shone my flashlight into the fog, there was no sign of anyone or anything. I packed my gear quickly and tried to retrace my steps back to the main trail, but the forest seemed to shift, paths twisting and bending in ways that made no sense. The footprints I had been following were nowhere to be found. The fog thickened, blurring my vision and muffling every sound except my own breathing, which felt shallow and quick. Panic settled in, but I forced myself to stay calm and focused. After what felt like hours wandering, I stumbled into a small clearing illuminated by a pale, eerie light. There, in the center, stood an old, weathered cabin that wasn't on any map. Its wooden boards were gray and cracked, windows boarded up haphazardly. The air smelled of damp earth and something metallic. I approached cautiously, feeling the hairs on the back of my neck rise. On the cabin's door, strange symbols were carved deeply into the wood. Ancient runes or marks, I couldn't tell which. They pulsed faintly as if alive. I didn't want to stay. Turning away, I felt a sudden presence behind me, a cold breath on my neck, a weight pressing down on my chest. I spun around. There was nothing, just the fog and the whispering wind. But then, from the shadows between the trees, two small, glowing red eyes appeared, staring directly at me. I froze, heart hammering in my chest. The eyes blinked once and vanished. I ran. Branches whipped at my face and arms. Roots tried to trip me. The whispers grew louder, filling the air with indecipherable words, some pleading, others threatening. My legs burned, lungs gasped for air. When I finally burst out of the fog, the sun was rising, casting warm light over the familiar forest edge. I was safe, but something inside me had changed. Back in town, I tried to tell others, but most dismissed my story as a nightmare or the effects of isolation. Yet I could not ignore the marks on my arm, scratches shaped like those symbols from the cabin door. And the dreams persisted. Visions of glowing eyes, cold breath, and endless fog. Sometimes, when the wind blows just right, I swear I hear the whispers calling me back to Black Hollow. I don't know what I encountered that night, whether it was a spirit, a creature, or something from beyond our understanding. The Appalachian Mountains keep their secrets well, and some say those who wander too deep never truly return. For now, I live with the memory and the warning. Some places are better left untouched, some shadows better left unexplored. The mountains wait patiently, watching, always waiting,